What's up, guys? Before we jump into this episode with Scott Knudson from Hoopla CRM, we are going to give a quick little economic update and then a Spectora update. This year obviously started off rocky, a very different start to the year than last year, but some of the numbers have been coming in on home sales for January, February, and they're encouraging. The new forecast from NAR on home sales for the year is 4.58 million sales for the year, and that is an upward revision. I think we started the year only at about 4 million was the expected number of home transactions. So things are trending higher when you go from January, February to March. And then mortgage rates have continued to drop, which I think as an industry, we all want to see come down from the elevated level they got to. They were popped up around 7% to start the year. And so now we're at about 6.28%, the average on the 30-year fixed, which helps affordability, which helps people buy more homes, which I think in our industry, we're all in favor of. So some green shoots there, I think that we can be constructive on. Maybe too early to say that we're out of the woods yet, but I feel constructive. I'm seeing activity pick up across the network. I'm hearing from inspectors. Some have been busy throughout the start to the year, and I think that has to do more with their personal kind of growth habits and their outreach and how they are continuing to win market share. But I think new inspectors should feel encouraged that there are going to be more transactions. Agents are going to be more optimistic, working with more buyers. So keep up your marketing, keep meeting with agents, keep sending out outreach, mass emails, keep getting coffees, and keep looking for ways to stay in front of agents. You have to do this ahead of when you think you're going to be busy. So if you don't feel busy now, or if you're not where you want to be, double down on marketing, outreach, activity. I don't want anyone to be sitting around waiting for the business to come in. That's how people fall out of the industry, and we've seen that over the years. So, okay, on to some Spectora updates, some really exciting next-gen updates. So next-gen, again, is our from the ground-up mobile app that we've built on new technology to future-proof Spectora in our app and everything you love about it. It's come a very long way. Many of you haven't tried it in months. Some of you beta tested it maybe a year ago. But there's a couple big updates that Megan just gave me. So for one, on both Android and Apple, you can now set the aspect ratio on the rapid fire camera. So again, the rapid fire camera, a lot of you know and love it. You can set the aspect ratio on that now, which is huge. It seemed like a small update, but then some inspectors wrote in and said like, oh my God, this is like the most amazing update you guys have made. Number two, you can access additional lenses on Apple devices like the wide angle or the telephoto lens. So that's a huge deal for you Apple users. You can now leverage all the cameras and all the power of these crazy Apple phones. So that's big. And then here's a few quotes from the release. So this inspector said, I saw an update come through and saw the camera. Wow! Exclamation point! Bravo, team. And then another, yes, yes, yes. All I've ever wanted. I'm about to cry of joy. Thank you. So real inspector quotes talking about the camera updates. So right into the chat bubble, guys, if you haven't used NextGen or if you're curious about it, check it out. And one last update. So we've never had advertisers on the pod, and we still aren't, but we like to promote people and businesses that we feel like we align with, that we think just are good people that do good business and make the industry better. And so on that note, there is an IEB conference. So if you don't know what IEB is, it's a business and coaching kind of group where you get like-minded people coming together to talk about more than just the home inspection part of our business and industry. You talk about business building, marketing, strategy, finance, what it's like to be a CEO of a home inspection company that's growing and has 2, 5, 10, 20 home inspectors under you. And then leadership development, breakout groups, personal development, lots of cool things. And I think that's why we're excited and help promote IEB events, because not only are we sponsors there typically, we just believe in the messages they promote, and it's very non-salesy. It's very community driven and oriented, and it's something we appreciate, and we think it makes the industry better. We think inspection companies get better and more sophisticated by going there, and we level up as well. And so that's why we're just giving a little shout out to their conference coming up, IEB Unite. It's in San Antonio. It is May 31st through June 2nd. And it's at a cool venue down there, the La Cantina Resort, I believe is what it's called. And the keynote speaker is Pat Flynn from Yellowbird. I hadn't heard of Yellowbird, but apparently it's a real estate investing company. So should be cool. Should offer some cool insights there into probably what he's seeing on like a macro level with real estate investing. But there's a promo code, so it's not just me telling you about it. There's a promo code that you can use to save and drop the price down from the non-member price of $548 to attend the conference to $199. So it'll be $199 instead of $548 with this promo code IEB Social 23. So again, that's IEB Social 23 to go to the IEB conference. And again, that's in San Antonio, May 31st through June 2nd. Spectora typically is a platinum sponsor there. Again, because we believe in the community and the methods and strategy that they teach there. We also teach a lot of and promote to inspectors to help grow their business, make it more efficient. Because again, when you guys grow and thrive, we all win. So check it out. I'll put the link in the description for you to learn more. All right, so today we have Scott Knudson, Hoopla CRM. He was on the podcast years ago, and I think we had audio problems on the first episode, but you can go back and listen to the episode to hear his initial backstory. But he is still running Signature Home Inspections out of Southern California. He was one of our first like 50 customers, so Scott holds a special place in our heart, and he's just a good dude. He also has a CRM that he started years ago and is out there in the market now, Hoopla CRM. And again, they're not an advertiser with us. We don't make any money from this, but he's doing pretty innovative, cool things in terms of automation, ways to send realtors emails when they haven't used you in a while, and different triggers and things that you can set up using Spectora linked with Hoopla CRM. Cool stuff. Again, so we promote it because we think, hey, this is like business intelligence and automation that helps you guys grow your business. So check it out, hear what we have to say. It's a fun conversation. We talk about his travel bug because he's a big traveler, and he has run a multi-inspector company while traveling the world and made it work. And so you hear the ups and downs of that, but then also the story of Hoopla and what it can do for the home inspection industry. Pretty cool stuff. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and I'll put links to everything in the description if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're just listening on audio, the links will be in the description there as well. All right, enjoy. What's going on, brother?
Oh, just 80 degrees yesterday.
Man, my wife
Oh,
yesterday, we were taking a walk and it was so cold and we could see our breaths. And she was like, "Do you want to move?"
yeah, you can do it, can't you? You guys aren't working in the office, are you? You're working from home?
We might have an in-office presence for hybrid, but not not 5 days in. So we're gonna try the hybrid thing out.
What about Mike? He's been saying he's been wanting to move to California for a while.
I think we're rediscovering the power of in person when dealing with some building up teammates and our leadership team. So maybe not in the short term, but yeah, he's a surfer dude for life. So he'll get out there eventually.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's been nice. My parents were out here for a month. Oh, when was it? They live in Missouri, and it rained. We got quite a bit of rain this year, so we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, that's nice. They got to come out.
Yeah, yeah. I went out there for 2 weeks during Christmas, and then came out. They flew him back. My dad, even though he was an air traffic controller, he for whatever reason just you know didn't like getting on planes. Had this anxiety about it for some reason. So
Maybe knew too much, knows too much about them.
I think it was more or less the changes that they've made since he last flew, going through the security and doing all that kind of stuff. But I think when I said, "Hey, I'll be with you, I'll fly you guys through." I mean, my mom's done it several times, but he just hasn't flown for probably 25 years. And I told him, I said, "I'll get you a wheelchair if that's what you want," but he wouldn't get in one. So
Yeah,
he's 83 this year, and I think my mom's 80. So they're getting up there.
yeah. Got to cherish the time, right?
Yeah.
Man, we have so much we can talk about because for people that maybe haven't listened to the first time you were on, we're not going to go through the whole backstory again. They can go back and listen to that. But your career and kind of the ups and downs you've been through, you've grinded it out, as a solo, you've grown a team, you've traveled while managing the business. You've done so many interesting things and been so many places. We'll definitely get into the Hoopla stuff maybe in
Yep.
the back half of this. But yeah, it's funny when you put on the invite the early days of Spectora because you've got some stories, I'm sure.
I remember what was it? When we first did this podcast, we had sound issues. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was like, I look back and I think it was, what day was that? It was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's insane.
I went back and looked at it. I'm like, how long ago was that? And I took a snapshot of it because I was just curious what it was. And it was like 4 years ago. And yeah, we had some big sound issues. So
Yeah. So we
need a redo.
We might need to recap some of that, but I'm trying to think even where you mentally in your business was at the time, because if you just want to even update me for my own sake, not let alone for the listeners of like the arc that your company and journey has gone on, because
I think I was in growth mode, or I was wanting to grow.
Mhm.
And I think with all the traveling that I want to do, or that it's difficult because they even though we don't see them all the time, the inspectors, they as soon as they find out that I'm gone, stuff doesn't get, reports go out late, and they're uh, you know,
Let's start here. Have you always had a passion for traveling? Because that was one thing that I think Mike and I thought was pretty cool in terms of.
I didn't. The first time I traveled was right before September 11th. I
Mhm.
had an uncle that traveled all the time. He owned a vet clinic outside of Omaha, Nebraska, and was gone all the time. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. And I asked him, and he used to go to South Africa a lot. So I said to him, I said, hey, if you ever go, let me know. I want to go. So he said, yeah, I'm going to go in, I think it was December, because it's their summertime down there. And so he says, let's plan it. So at the time, I wasn't making that kind of money, so I said, you know what, I'm going to put away $200 a month and save up, bought my ticket. I think it was like $1,200. And we went down there for 3 weeks, and that was where I got the bug. And traveled a little bit with my ex-wife. And then when we got divorced, I was thinking, all right, how old was I when we got divorced? 45, I think. I'm 50 now. And thought, what else I'm going to do? Single
Go
guy.
see the world. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. And it kind of, at the same time, it kind of gave me a chance to evaluate, when you're out there by yourself and, doing all that kind of stuff. And so I've just had the bug ever since. And I'm happy being, I don't think I could ever live in a city like New York, but get me in Barcelona, Rome, where you can just walk out the door and, do everything right there. You don't have to get in a car.
Yeah.
And that's such a strange thing for somebody that lives in suburban LA, Orange County, where you have to drive everywhere. And I just dread, I'm like looking at the time to say, all right, do I got, what time's rush hour? Can I get there and back without having to fight traffic?
Same. I long for, existing in a city where you just walk out the front door and almost everything is there, public transit, clean streets.
Yeah.
Did you get into the home inspection business knowing it would enable that type of freedom and flexibility in travel, or did it happen just kind of as you?
No, I think it kind of happened as the everything moved online, because 20 years ago, I've been doing this 20 years. And so 20 years ago, I took the AHIT class, couldn't do it online, couldn't do it in the books. And you think about 20 years, that's not that long ago, but they were still doing the paper reports. I mean, that was AHIT was pushing those carbon copy reports, and they did have a software. And that's what I thought. Is like, you know what? I don't want to do this paper report. How I got into this was I had an inspector that I hired for a house when I was living in Salt Lake, and he faxed a handwritten report over to me. And I'm like, what is, no photos, no nothing. I'm like, what is this? And so I'm like, I can do better than this, and didn't hire another, I'm like, well, I had a little bit of background. I'd, done construction, stuff like that. I'm like, well, I can do what that guy does. And so on that house ended up falling through. There was some serious flooding issues in the basement that they weren't aware of. And they wouldn't fix it. It was a bank-owned property. So the next house that we came across, I'm like, all right, this house isn't as old. I'm going to go through and do it. And come to find out, a couple of weeks later, I've got somebody coming in to wire, or I had a friend that's an electrician that was wiring a ceiling fan, and he looks down at me, he goes, "Did you know your house had aluminum wiring?" And I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, "What is that?" I panicked. I was like, "What is that?" Doing all this research, going to Home Depot, thinking about what I can do. I don't want my house to burn down. And at that point, I'm thinking, man, there is definitely a need for this. And so, yeah, I started looking for places online to do the thing, and found a hit, and was working for a company that they tend to lay off. If they were going to do layoffs, it was always December, because that's when the contracts would come up. And I knew it was coming. So I was like, all right, I had it ready to go, had my business structure set up, and they said, yeah, you're lay job. And like the next week, I was on a plane. I had a friend that lived in Scottsdale, and that's where they were having the training class, and went through AHIT's 2-week class and learned all that stuff. And I think that's where, is it Inspect It? That was their software?
Inspect It. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That they've sunsetted.
And so that was my first foray into the software. And yeah. And then from there, we went over to Report Host, and then we dabbled a little bit into Home Gauge, but their app for iPhone was just junk. And I think how we came to you guys is that I was at the time looking at Home HubSpot, which they're not even around anymore. Remember them?
Yep.
And
Home
then,
HubZone. Yep.
I think Ryan put me onto you guys, and I looked at it and I said, that's it. That's what I want. So early adopter.
Ryan was an early adopter. And I remember, for everyone out there, this is hilarious that like we were so new and young, and you at the time, I was like, this is the first like big time inspector that's looking at us. Yeah, and I was so nervous because you're
I wouldn't say big time, but maybe like knowledgeable, like I know what I want.
It was like, you're from California. It looked like you did a ton of inspections, and I was like, oh my God, we have to do whatever it takes to make this guy happy, because he's the first real big time inspector. And so, yeah, so we worked hand in hand with you. You've been through, ugly crashes, ugly downtimes. I'm always going to thank you and be indebted to you for the feedback and kind of seeing the vision and hanging in there, honestly, through some ugliness. And, you helped improve the product.
Yeah. I remember when you guys had what was it? The referral, the affiliate, where you could get $50 off your, monthly fee if you, shared it on social media. And I was sharing that all the time. And I just remember there was a competitor, I won't name names, but they would always call me out saying, oh, you're getting, I'm like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to share this product, and I'm going to get the word out. So every time I see you guys on site, I always tell the people that work for you at those conventions, I'm like, I was number 8. I don't know what my number is, but I was like, I'm number 8.
Pick 8. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just pick 8. And I used to always joke around with was it Cassie?
Casey.
Yeah, Casey. Yeah. She used to say, yeah, we've got a special color bubble whenever you pop into the chat. So
yeah.
That's kind of funny. But
and if we might bring the referral program back, and we owe you lots of back pay if we do that. There's an undisclosed amount that we owe you in back referral pay when we recontinue that program. FYI. So
yeah, it's worth it. Having me dab into it a little bit, I see the benefits from it as well. So
one thing I remember,
I even saw. Oh, go ahead.
One thing I remember about you was you were just so direct, and that was almost my intro into how most inspectors are. And I remember being like nervous to talk to you, because I was like, because when you just start something, it's your baby, and you feel like you don't take criticism as well. But like, you were just so direct and matter of fact. You were just like, hey, like, I'm not gonna bullshit you. This is what needs to be done. This is unacceptable. You got to do this. And we grew trust over time. And then I came to just like love it, to where I'm like, doesn't pull any punches, straightforward. Was scared of the guy. Now I love the guy.
Well, I think that was probably good training for what you guys were to expect. You guys, I think maybe originally you thought, hey, this is going to be an easy industry. But as you probably learned over the years, these inspectors know what they need to have. and are pretty adamant. And that's been the challenge, is that not every inspector has the same things that they need,
Yeah.
you know.
You guys point out what's
And
wrong
you've
for a
seen,
living.
yeah, you've seen some of the forums, it's all over the place, as far as what, for example, I looked at some of your questions that you had, on your invite, stuff that you've asked, and, not everybody's going to have the same view as far as, like, for example, when I went through training, they always told us don't park in the driveway. Well, I saw a guy the other day that parks his car every single time in the driveway. I'm like, dude, that's, I was always trained that you want to leave that for the realtor and the client so they can pull in.
Sure.
And two, you don't want to stain the client's driveway, with possible oil leaks and stuff like that. So I know it's a little bit harder, here in Orange County. We have a lot of HOAs, and so it's tough to find parking sometimes. But I've always pushed that on my guys. Is like, you know what? If you got to park down the street and carry your ladder, that's what you want to do. You want to leave the spot for them. So
we won't spend a lot of time on this. Let's talk about the forums and social media, because I'm going to preface this.
Yep.
You're the same person you are online that you are in person, and I respect it and love that you just tell people what's up. You give people your opinion. Where are you at currently on your engagement on social media? Have you given up talking to the to the idiots, or do you still jump in there and
yeah,
spar?
I don't, I'm not on there as much.
Okay.
So I mean, I am, but I think after a while you just realize that, hey, you're not going to change anybody's mind on your views or anything like that. Even though sometimes you're just like, oh, I want to say something. I just kind of move on. It's hard because it's, you read the comments, that's kind of why people are on there. They're reading the comments. And for example, I think you just have to have a tough skin and try to stay away from leaving those comments. It's like, for example, right now, Madonna's taking a beating online with how she looked, during the Grammys. And she's kind of fighting back a little bit. But at the same time, I think the realization is that people that haven't seen her for a while were kind of shocked, and so, yeah, you just kind of have to tune it out. So yeah, I don't engage as much anymore. As a business, you want to try to, I kind of just, yeah, I just kind of got over it and don't engage as much as I used to. So
Just so you know, internally, our team was always shouting your name and celebrating you when, whenever we would have hard times or things in fires we were fighting, you and a couple other users would always, be the rational voices and say, look, they're aware of it. They're working on it. And sometimes in not so polite words. And we always appreciated you guys. We always cheered for you internally to say, like,
yeah,
thank
I've
you.
always been a good big supporter of you guys. So, and I know how it is. It's the same thing right now. I used to have an issue with, it's like you were saying earlier, was that, you get defensive sometimes. It's like somebody comes back to us, and I know that we try to do the best we can on an inspection. And, if a complaint comes in, I've just gotten to the point now, it's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna read, I'll read it, but I'm not even gonna respond. I'm gonna let it sit. I'll wait until the next day. There's that saying, your lack of planning is not my emergency.
Oh,
And it just lets me, be able to do the research that needs to be done without having to respond back. And I think in the early days, I would take it too personal. And so now it's just like, you know what? If somebody's got a complaint, I want them to do I need to have them do certain things for me before I can, I need to educate myself. I need to review it. I need to take a look at it. I need to talk to the inspector. That takes some time, and it's not going to be something that's going to be responded to within an hour. So, and that's
wisdom.
the problem. That's the problem, is that, we're in that generation to where everybody wants something right now.
React. Yeah.
I think the travel that I've done is that I realized that, it's not that way in most of the world. It's just that way here. It's like you go anywhere else, and, just to sit down and eat, it's going to take you 2 or 3 hours.
You have to be present. That's amazing. And obviously Mike and I are big fans of that. What would you say? And then we'll get into the Hoopla stuff. So I think a lot of inspectors get into the business because they want to be their own boss. They'll have time, freedom, flexibility, but then they never get around to traveling, or even let alone maybe date night with their wife or kids or whatever. So how did you make that shift, one, in terms of setting up your company to where you can enjoy life and spend the money you're making? And two, what challenges did you run into?
I mean, I think it's the systems. You have to have the systems in place. So I remember before we came over to you guys, and this is before ISN, we got on. I was originally doing our inspection agreements when it was just me. I was doing them on the Nachi's agreement system.
Yeah.
And so I had like 3 or 4 places that I was having to put information in. And if it's a one-man show, that's all right. But once you started to grow, I'm like, I can't be putting data in 4 different locations. I'd have to put it in the report. I'd have to put it into the agreement. I'd have to put it into a service, if you were using like recall check, there was nothing that was combining anything. I'd known about ISN, but it was kind of daunting because I'm like, man, there's a lot in this. And it's just something that you just have to jump into and do it. And I don't know if, I'm on Spectora Advanced now, but that was the problem that I had, was that I'm like, oh, do I have the time to,
To
sit
migrate all
down
this?
and spend the time? And once I did that, I think who was the one that I was working with? What's her name? You know who
Alexis?
I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I asked for an extension like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, hey, can we get an extension on this? Because it was like a month. And I finally said, all right, I'm going to buckle down. And it wasn't, I knew the software, but I didn't, I had so many automations, and that had to be pulled over. And even though you guys were able to pull that stuff over, I still just basically started from scratch.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's been some really cool features that you guys have just released that that I really like as well. So I probably haven't been using all of them, but yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, just setting up your systems online that you can run from anywhere. I mean, I can take my laptop and I can place phone calls. I can do my marketing through my software that I have. I can do everything I need to do in your software. I used to, you can have HR software, you can have payroll software. Everything can be done online, and you just have to set up the systems.
That's good advice.
The other thing that we did too was, I'm not a big guy on writing manuals, on how to do something. And so what I started doing was I started taking, utilizing YouTube. And if I needed to do a procedure, like let's say, for example, how to do payroll, I'll just do a video, with Loom. How you can do it now with Loom is you can just record the whole process and basically log it. You can do the playlist on YouTube or any of those providers and log it and say, HR, and then boom, go through everything on video. So when somebody comes in, they can just watch it, or you can just share it. So I did it this morning with your, what was it? The recommended contractors feature. I finally got into that last night. Man, I love that feature. I went in there, and it's hard because I asked a couple of our top agents, say, hey, do you guys have contractors that you'd recommend? Problem is they don't want to share them because they're already busy as it is. So I'm like, well, I got to get somebody. So I went in and, scoured Yelp, scoured Google, got companies that were in our area, had some good reviews, and put those in there. And so this morning when I was on the Peloton, I shared it with one of our top agents, and he's like, yeah, that's great. And but what happened was he had responded back to my request, for good contractors. He's like, well, he didn't want to share, because they're already busy as it is. And then so I did a Loom video, sent it to him, and says, hey, what do you think about this feature? And he goes, great idea. But he goes, the only problem we have is that if they go to contractors that we don't refer, then we're chasing, we got to follow that rabbit hole, for a contractor that might, have not the client's best interest. And so I think the one recommendation that he had made, and this is for you guys, is to be able to turn it on and off by the agent. So like if an agent says, hey, we don't want that. And so that would probably be something that you could put in their profile.
Yep.
That way, if a client, because I don't know if there's a way you can turn it on and off per agent, because I know there's going to be agents that are going to say, hey, I don't want that on mine.
Don't do that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And then his other ask was like, can we put our people in there,
Yep.
and I'm like,
Yes.
that would be something where, that way they could share who they want to, refer. And so that was the feedback that I got on that. That's a really cool feature that I like. So I don't know if anybody's played around with that, but definitely try it out.
You're so cutting edge, and I love how just like open you are to tech and systems and processes. I think that's why you've been able to craft kind of not only your home inspection business, and starting Hoopla, like all that great stuff. But those two features are on the roadmap. So 100%, those are things.
Nice.
Yeah. I love that
Yeah.
you're thinking. I'm not surprised you're thinking the same way we are about things by this
Well,
point.
I roll it out. Like I kind of give them I want I want feedback from them, because I don't want, they're going to tell me what they see. And that's kind of going back to how we set that up was in a Loom. It's crazy. I can just go on there. What I did is I had originally filmed it for my inspectors to let them know, saying, hey, if anybody asks for you guys for contractors, let them know. Cause we get that call all the time.
Yeah.
People will email us, call us and say, hey, who do you recommend? And I'm like, depends. I mean, LA is a big area. It's like, are you in LA? Are you in, Newport Beach? So we try to find somebody that covers everywhere to put those in there. But that's definitely going to be a great feature. But if they can add that where they can turn that on and off if they want by agent, and then have them have the agents. I mean, we could go out and market that to agents, say, hey, we've got this new feature in the software. You would be able to go in and put your own contractors in there, or send us that list and we'll put them in for you.
Beautiful. Yeah. And it's something I think you guys could charge clients for this feature, for this value add, right? Because you're doing the research, you're doing the sourcing, you've built the relationships. I think most inspectors are hesitant to charge for their networks or the work they do.
Well, I think the benefit too is that we always, we had an instance, the one I was talking about, how we had an instance yesterday where we had made the recommendation to do some stuff on the water heater and some stuff on the duct work and all this other stuff. And whoever they hired that came in basically told them that they needed $15,000 in, HVAC work and ducting. And I'm like, basically, threw us under the bus. And I'm like, dude, that guy wouldn't even be there if we didn't refer him, say, hey, this needs to be looked at. And so now, they go in there with that scare tactic and say, hey, your inspector should have caught this. It's like, no, we caught it. We just told you needed to have somebody take a look at it further. And so I think if you were going to utilize this, and it's hard in this area where I'm at because it's such a large metropolitan area. But if you were in a smaller market, you could probably build those relationships with the plumber, because some of these plumbing companies, they're going to have 50 people, 50 contractor. I can't control all 50 of them.
Right.
And so, and if the company's too small, they're not going to be able to handle all the work anyway. But if you had a small, you can have that conversation with them, say, hey, I'm going to refer, you this business, but don't throw us under the bus. It's like, you're going to have that thing, so you're going to have that conversation. So that's just tough with some of these bigger companies.
I have a question for you. So contractors are used to paying for leads, or they get word of mouth business, right? They get word of mouth, or they pay for ads through Google or through Angie or whatever. Are you against inspectors charging them for those leads, or at least an advertising fee?
No, because it's been done for a while now on some of these manuals, like for these, these maintenance manuals. Some of these, I remember when we were buying ours from, I think, RWS, they basically had that option during your design process that, you could get, that was kind of the pitch was, you could get your plumber or your HVAC to basically purchase these for you. You could sell the ad space on them. Yeah. Just kind of like that famous scam that goes around in our industry of people saying, hey, we're going to put you on a Remax's folder and you're going to be the only guy on there. And the home inspector is not understanding that that's one of the biggest scams out there, that most of the people in that office have never even heard of that company.
Yeah.
And we'll probably never see the folder. So
yeah. Cool. No, I think it's something that's underutilized and a huge differentiator if you can market it right. And I think of you as like a half marketer, half inspector, half business owner. So, I mean, I think there's massive opportunity there. We have to round out the product, which we're doing this quarter, but that's cool. You've gotten good feedback on it. Good to hear.
Yeah. Like I said, I just started it last night. So I was watching TV. I don't remember what it was, had the laptop on. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of multitasking, watching a show that I wasn't really watching, and threw it in there. And yeah, it's up and running right now. So hopefully the new agent, I think what you could do until you guys turn it off is you probably just be able to delete that section, right? Because I think it goes into the menu on the left.
Right.
So you could always just delete that.
Yeah. Just not have it show up for certain agents. I just love that your mentality, I think, is refreshing, because I think the default inspector mentality is, I'm scared, there's liability. What if so-and-so, what if 26 bad things happen, as opposed to you guys regaining the power in the transaction and kind of owning those relationships, instead of, like you said, people Googling it and then a random contractor throwing you under the bus, because that's going to happen regardless.
Well, the other thing too is, some people don't like to do the referrals because they don't want the liability. But I think, we've always told people on site that say, always get, 3 or 4, or 2 or 3, at least 2 or 3, minimum 2 bids, because one's going to be high, one's going to be low. The guy's going to be in the middle. Otherwise you don't understand what the price is. And so I would say, even on the verbiage on that recommended contractor, is to put something like that in the verbiage saying, we recommend that you contact 2 or 3 companies. And so in mine, what I've done is I've just put in there 2 at minimum, so they can go in there with that quote feature and they can send an email to both of them. It's kind of like Yelp's feature.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you can go on to Yelp? Like I had a problem with my garage door opener the other day, and I was, I'd had them, both of them brand new installed, but one of them wasn't working. And the garage guy was like, oh, I got another appointment, left me hanging with one of them not working because he couldn't figure out how to turn it. Ended up being a sensor that was bad on the unit. And I'm like, dude, you kind of left me hanging. So I was laying in bed, went on to Yelp, and I just said, all right, I'm going to get a bid on, and they basically, you can select on Yelp, how many people, that you can just type in what you want.
Yeah.
So some of this, the same concept. So
yeah, right on. So all right, let's talk about when you got to the point where Hoopla was born. How did it come about? Tell me kind of the story of went from home inspector owner to, I want to do something else. I want to try something else in tandem.
Travel. I wanted, with how people were able to work remotely during the pandemic. I'm like, I want that. I want to be able to have the freedom of being able to, wake up in Columbia one morning and open my laptop and be able to work. And I've, that's kind of, you see that, and I think they're starting to pull people back in the offices, and people are kicking and screaming because they feel like, they can be just as productive. And I think we mentioned a little bit earlier was that, it's still nice to be able to have that access to be able to come back in, because I would never just get up and leave, the home inspection business. But I could be gone for a month or so and not have to always be here. I know a company that just moved, they have a large company in Massachusetts, and they just moved to Florida, and they're still running the business in Massachusetts because they have moved everything online. They've gotten rid of some of this, they don't visit the offices as much as they used to because everything's changed. The marketing has changed. The, agents aren't in the office like they used to be. So
yeah. Okay. So I guess for everyone that doesn't know, let's explain what Hoopla is, why you got into this particular space.
Yeah. Well, one is, seeing your guys' lifestyle. I like it. No, I know you guys are hard workers. You're probably thinking, man, we shouldn't have got into this software. But anyway,
I need to travel more. I need to get out more. You've traveled more than me.
Yeah. I'm single, so that's a little bit easier. What it was a couple years ago, I was looking for a CRM software, and I couldn't find everything that had everything all in one. I think the closest I got was Zoho, and they might have added some stuff, but I was having to pay for for example, pay for a software like a CRM. CRMs, $100, $80. Email marketing software like MailChimp, Constant Contact. I think I looked at MailChimp the other day. It was like $80 a month for 5,000 contacts, for example. I'm like, it's crazy. And then, it wasn't that easy to use at first. And then you have, Calendly, you have all these different platforms. And by the time they were impossible to connect together. They were just like, okay, I got to have a Zapier for this. I got to have a Zapier for this. And it was like, I'm like, I want to have something all in one, And so basically I wanted the automations. I wanted the social scheduler, like Hootsuite built in, everything all at once. And I couldn't find it. And so I said, all right, I'm going to start looking. So I had dabbled in doing is it Upwork? Or is that what they're still
Yeah.
called?
Yeah.
Finding some developers on Upwork, found one, kind of told him what I needed, what I wanted it to do. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And I told him, I said, I don't have any, all I'm going to be able to help you with is say, this is what I want it to do. And yeah. Come to find out, he's asking me for all this stuff. I'm like, I have no idea. I spent more time trying to educate myself on the stuff that he wanted versus actually having anything built. And it wasn't even going to be as thorough, as encompassed as what it is now. I think the logo started out to be just a text messaging platform, hence the texting over here on the logo. Yeah. And then it just kind of grew from there. I'm thinking, all right, well, what? So I found another company that could do it. And so I said, this is what I needed to do. Here you go. And that was probably last year. And then we did we had the soft launch where we were just signing up people that we knew and anybody that would listen to us. And then Nachi back in October, since it was in our backyard, he said, all right, let's do that's going to be our launch. This is what we're going to promote it to. And so it's been nice because we haven't, I was worried that we're going to get overwhelmed with everything, but I think what we've seen is that because of the market, it's slower than what it is. Home inspectors are trying to, rein in costs. And so we've seen, people say, well, I want to sign up, but I don't, have that $100, for example, to do it. And so I think once this market turns around, we'll start seeing. But what's been nice is that it's given us time to work through the onboarding process, the tech support process, stuff that wasn't there in the beginning that we can fine tune and then learn. I think the biggest thing we've seen right now is that we can get people to sign up, we can get them on the platform, but getting them to actually get in there and use it, that's a whole nother challenge because I don't want any churn. You don't want them to, leave, so I would never known about churn until I, started selling a software as a service. So
it's a beautiful world, right? It's a beautiful and complicated and sometimes stressful world. But what I'm excited about is some of the best businesses are created in recessions or pullbacks because you get a few users to give you good, intimate feedback, and you just refine. Yeah. I'm pumped for it. So that developer you found still working with you found a good one then that can hang with you and make updates. That's great.
Yeah, they're on the back end. They're updating all the time. They don't only do it for us. So there's some other people that they work with on it. So, and then we're adding new stuff all the time because they have connections with other companies. Like, for example, a new feature that we just added. It'll do, text message marketing. It'll do email marketing. It's a CRM. It has the, calendar options. It's got the missed call text back. It's got the social media planner, which is great because I can actually just go in there and schedule a month's worth of social media if I want. It's got as many forms and chatbot. So, I think I saw where was it? An article the other day. I think you guys just released it about these websites are going to get more leads than anybody else. And I don't know if you probably don't, probably not handling your blogs and stuff, but there was a blog on there that basically you guys had like 5 websites that they had lead capture forms. And so that's what we've been doing with ours is that, I use our software for our own company and putting stuff on automation. For example, when somebody fills out a form, like for example, a customer complaint form or a quote form, that we can put them on automation where we can send them emails, text messages, and stay in front of them. The other thing that what we do is we connect through Spectora, through Zapier. And so we're able to pull any new agent that comes in through, we obviously enter them into Spectora or Spectora first, and then Zapier pulls them over. And then what we do is we just tag them new agent. And then we set it up in our system where it knows that they're not already in our system. So what we do is we put them on an 8 week email campaign where we send them an email once a week telling them a little bit about our company, our coverage area, the services that we offer. And then we can also put them on a text message nurture to where we can send them the first text message is, hey, this is Scott with Signature Home Inspection. We recently worked with you on a property. Here's $50 coupon for your next inspection. And what we do is we create the coupon code in Spectora. And then that way we can tie it back to, we can track it in your guys' system. So, and then the next one would be we have like a 52-week home maintenance tip. And basically every week they get a maintenance tip that says, your weekly home maintenance tip from Signature Home Inspection. So we're branding ourselves and with the goal of that, hey, they're getting a home maintenance tip. And then maybe on week 34, they need an inspection. And all they got to do is respond to that text that pulls that information back into Hoopla. And then we can, communicate with them through the software or through the app and in real time. And so, yeah, there's all kinds of different things you can utilize it for. But that once you set that up, it's automated. You don't have to do anything with it.
Powerful.
And then, the other thing too is, we get these business cards on site. And I always tell people if, sometimes they have a business card, and this is a little tip for some people, but, if they have an open house and they've got a bunch of business cards, line them up, take a photo of them, send it to your QA or your VA, or if you have time, I try to go in and put 10 in a day. And then I just tag them new agents. So they're automatically enrolled in that 8-week campaign. So yeah, it's powerful, and we've gotten we get work from it. So especially that $50 coupon. We used to get more people to say stop, because they want to be unsubscribed. But what I did was I was like, all right, how can I change that? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to add that $50 off coupon for the first time. And ever since I did that, hardly anybody says stop or don't text me anymore, because it's like, okay, this guy's going to send me, it's all about what you can give them. If as long as you're not selling them something and you're giving them information, they're more apt to doing business with you. But if you're constantly hitting them with emails saying, hey, here's $5 off or whatever the price is, they're not interested in that. They want information that can help them in their business.
Marketing 101, add value, right?
Yeah.
One thing I love about you is that you have this like real-time sandbox as an owner of an inspection company to prove everything that you're doing on the Hoopla side. Whereas I know there's other CRMs, agencies, whatever, where they don't have the proof right in their backyard. Like they haven't done it. You're actually doing it and seeing results.
That's interesting, because at the Nachi conference, when people would come up and talk to me, their mind, their approach to me was like, oh, this is a guy just like Mike and Kevin. Nothing. I'm just giving you a hard time, but they're like, who is this guy? He's a tech guy, and then as soon as I told them that I own a home inspection company and that I'm actually using this in my home inspection company, their mindset was like, they were so much more open to talking to me. It was like, oh, it's like, it was so weird. And like, that's what I changed my pitch. I'm like, listen, yes, this is my software company. I actually started as a home inspector. I've been doing inspections for 20 years. And I saw a need, and this is where we came from. Boom, they were just so much more open to talking about it.
Yeah. So, you don't have a man bun. You don't have like the haircut. So you got so much more going for you.
I give you a hard time. I'm just teasing you about that.
But I love that. It makes sense though, because to me, when you've walked the walk, the use cases you just listed, 95% of inspection companies don't do those things or think about automation. And that to me is the point. And that's like the need right there of,
it's so easy. It's so easy to set up if you just sit down and take the time to do it, and we'll help people set it up. It's like some of the emails that, we can create a snapshot and basically, this software can work for any company, but, because home inspection is what we know, we just said, this is going to be our niche, whatever you say.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to target. Because I know what a home inspector, wants and needs, and how they, they're not easy to deal with sometimes. They can be vulgar. They can be, I won't name names, but we probably know some of the same people we've dealt with, that we've had issues with. But yeah, I mean, it's not that difficult if you just sit down and set it up. And so we've even we're even working on the side, like we have a feature where you can actually create a membership portal or a training portal in the system, to where we can set up, we basically can do an onboarding video series to where they can just go through one at a time. And so what I tell people is when they sign up, and I say, listen, before our onboarding call, which is usually 4 days down the road, go through that. And it's like a series of like 20 videos that are like 3 minutes long, with basically just an overview of every one of the main features that it does. So that way, when we get on the call, we don't have to do the hard work. We can just answer questions and finish setting up stuff that they haven't finished setting up. So yeah, and then there's new features all the time. Like we just, the big thing right now is the chat GPT, the auto, the AI. And I found a developer in this forum. We have these Facebook groups, and this guy's like, hey, I've got this plug-in that we can, iframe right into your software. Obviously we pay them for it, but they've basically got it up to where we can go in and we can use it for blogging. You can write blogs, you can write listing, for agents. You can write their new listing. What do they call it?
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy. It's like, for example, on mine, I'll do, my place is a work live loft. So, I've got a office in the main floor, live on the two. And so I typed in 1 bedroom, floor to ceiling loft, new floors, new window, all the stuff. And it kicks out this thing that just basically, writes it for the realtor. And so you could promote that if you wanted to, say, hey, use us as your home inspector. We'll write all your, your listing descriptions.
Wow, it's innovation.
It's
I love
great.
it.
Oh yeah. And then with that, it's so right now, as soon as they gave it to us, I put it in, and I think I wrote. And again, you have to make the changes on the blogs. You can't just let it write everything.
Right.
But I just went in there over one weekend. I think it was championship weekend when I was watching football. Had my laptop, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to see how many blogs I can write. I wrote 30 blogs in 3 days. And again, they're not finished, but I typed in, like, for example, how long do water heaters typically last? And it'll kick out a 3-4 paragraph sentence. And what I do is I copy and paste that into WordPress, have Grammarly running in the background. So Grammarly will fix anything that needs to be fixed. And then you just have to do the Yoast SEO, and do what it tells you to do. And boom, I've added the photo, created the links, put the keyword in the first sentence, did all that stuff, and then saved it or scheduled it. Yeah. And I think I contacted your the lady that does your websites the other day, because they weren't auto scheduling for some reason. And so she added a plugin that kind of fixed that if it wasn't auto scheduling. And then I asked her if she could add a plugin, because we want to push that blog out to a larger, like a feeder or whatever, to get it out and then connected to our social media. And I mean, I just think blogging is going to be I've always wanted to do blogs, but I just didn't have the time or the expertise to do it. And now with that, I can do it, and it's pretty easy to get those set up. And then the other thing that we just we're working on right now is being able to add Facebook ads, where you can actually basically connect your account,
right,
and launch a Facebook ad in 3 clicks.
Wow.
So,
you guys are doing everything. I love this.
I'm looking for, it's a value add. It's kind of like a home inspection. You want to add value, and I want to make this software to where it's like, if you can't pay this amount for what it's doing, I don't know what to tell you. It's like,
Well, I would venture to say that the failure rate in our industry is so high because many inspectors don't pay proper respect to all the things you just mentioned, like all the marketing, customer service, sales that go into everything you've done manually back in the day, of course, but that you're automating. I think most inspectors think this stuff's optional.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the failure rate being like 60%, right?
Well, I think too is, with, VAs are big right now, everybody's hiring VAs, and some people might be against that, but I would say, and nothing against my inspectors, but my VA is a rock star. He's in the Philippines.
Mhm.
He is, shows up every single day. He's able to, he wants to learn. And I basically, once he found out that we were going to make a pivot and start doing some of this stuff, because he handles our calls and handles all that stuff on, scheduling and stuff like that. But they're not all, I did away with call centers. I
I think
was
it's a
so
trend.
frustrated.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
I was
happening.
so frustrated with the problem with the call centers was that you would finally get your team the way you wanted it, and then all of a sudden they'd hire somebody else, and then you're just starting all over with that guy. They're making the same mistakes, and you're like, and I came from that industry. I came from the call center industry where I was like a client service manager where I flew over the world visiting, Philippines, India, visiting these places. And so I didn't have much patience for it. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this VA route. And, we don't have the coverage that we typically had to do, but I don't mind picking up the phone on the weekends. We have a feature that's called missed call text back. That basically, if somebody calls and we can't pick it up, it'll automatically send them a text message saying, hey, whatever you want it to say. Hey, sorry, missed your call. If it's to place an order, here's a link to our website. We direct them to this Spectora scheduler. And a lot of times people will either respond back to that text and say, okay, don't worry about it. I'll just schedule online or what have you. But, that's kind of gotten, that handles the after hours. And then when we can't get to every call. So he's been able to do that. And what's nice about it is if he makes a mistake or, if you have two VAs, it's a lot easier to correct them than it is, a third party call center that their churn on their employees is, they're running them through the door. So we've been happy with the VA route. And the other thing too is what I was saying was that the VA can do more than answer calls. You've just got to, I have them busy all the time. I have them cold calling agents. Right now I have him cold calling businesses for Hoopla. So I have like a list. I'm like, all right, I want you to do 50 real estate agents. I want you to do 50 businesses. We can also set up automations in Hoopla to where we can do that voicemail drop. So, we
That's
can
cool.
say, we can say, I have a message where I say, hey, this is Scott with Signature Home Inspection. I just started the software. And then we can send that out. I mean, maybe some home inspectors on listening to this podcast might have received that already, but then we followed up with text. And so, text is the way people want to communicate. So.
Agreed. Where did you find the VA, or how did you find the VA?
When I was talking with the software developer, he had a list of, they utilize them, everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
my VA's wife actually works for Amazon. She's a VA for Amazon. So it's not just home inspectors, it's everybody's using VA. I mean,
The quality's great. That's
well,
it's all
you
I've
don't have,
heard. I've heard nothing but
yeah,
great
the
things.
quality's great. They're educated. When I was and the reason why I was more open to it was because in the call center industry, we were moving call center jobs overseas because we could get somebody that was a college educated for fraction of the cost, and there was no churn. They showed up every day for work versus hiring them in the US paying double, and then they quit after they get their 2-week training, then they
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah.
And then you're constantly trying, it's like, and then you don't have the payroll taxes, you don't have all that stuff, and then you can bonus them however you want. Like my guy for Christmas, I got him, he was mentioning he wanted an Apple Air, and I'm like, hey, I'll contribute to that. Here's your Christmas bonus. Use it to buy that MacBook Air, and now he's got a
Amazing.
MacBook Air. He asked me the other day, says, hey, I want to get a car loan. Would you, there's a document that I need to have can you fill out? I'm like, sure, dude, I'll fill it out for you. So,
And not to mention that, multiple call centers have been acquired by Porch. And I think there's a dynamic there that's clearly shifted. And Mike and I love hearing this because these are our brothers and sisters over in the Philippines. We're half Filipino. And so we love seeing a country kind of emerge and come up. And I think it helps their economy and people. And like you said, they're educated and they are sharp. There's places like Myra Staffing, Rocket Station that I know use VAs over there as well. So cool tip on that. I think there's just so many success stories we're hearing that it's almost undeniable that that's the way to go.
And it's not just in the Philippines. My guy actually referred me to Latin America. There's as long as they can speak English, and the only issue that we had when I was in the call center industry was the accent. But they have this accent neutralization training that they go through that you can do. India is a little bit tougher to get to answer phones, but they've been kind of transitioned over just to the tech support now.
Right.
But the Philippines has such a close knit tie with the U.S. that
Right.
most of them speak English, all their
Perfect.
life.
Yeah.
And and I'm glad that the ties are getting even stronger. I think the U.S. is going to open some more military bases over there to counter, threats in the Pacific, and they're all open to it. And he was actually, I think I said something the other day. I said, yeah, this is, when I told him about a new feature that we were adding, I said, this is going to knock it out of the park. And then I had to go back and I wonder if he even knows that. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I watch everything on Netflix. He goes, I consume an enormous amount of American TV and media. I'm like, oh, God, yeah, okay.
They even get cultural references, which can help with agent relationships or home buyer. Like it allows them to speak to virtually anybody.
We've only had one person that was upset about it, and I suspect that they were, I don't want to say the R word, but they were just, their response was that I can't believe that you're hiring outside the country and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I wanted to say, you want us to do a cheap inspection, you want us to keep our costs down, but you don't want, you don't want to allow us to do what we need to do that,
Right.
And that's what's great, especially in this market. This has been the frustrating part being here is, the average detached home is, like 1.2 million, I think I saw the other day, and they complain about a $500 inspection. Then they're waste all day to save $25. It's crazy.
I hope maybe it's a pipe dream. I think inspections are worth at least $1,000. I think that should be like the floor. Given the I've been a part of so many, I've seen so many, it's just ridiculous that it's still seen as this optional thing to skimp on. But that's a topic for another day.
The other thing that we like is that new client portal. Man, that has been a game changer. We've been on that beta for a while, and love how, so I don't know if everybody's using it now, right? It was pushed over.
Most should be.
Yeah. So we just love it that, we get so many, like before we were sending out emails, we still send out an email to like for sewer and mold. Those are probably our two biggest upsells. We also do some repair pricing that we'll charge a little bit extra, but just having that where they can go in and add those features has just been, we're getting an inspection that starts out at 500. And by the time they're done, it's at $1,200 because they've added on those things just by going into that portal and seeing the pricing. My only feedback would be is instead of let them add it without having to send an email to us.
That's coming.
So is it?
Yeah. One click upsell add-on is on the way. And that, we're pumped about that.
Yeah. Cause what happens right now is that when they say, request it, then it sends us an email. Then we got to go back into the system.
Admin work.
Add it. Which is fine. It doesn't take that much, but I could see that if you were a lot, did a lot more volume, that would be, you'd have to, whatever cuts down the manpower and doing the automation is helpful on that. So
for those that are curious about that, just write into the chat and ask about the new client portal upsells, but you'll appreciate this. Our mentality on that, we have an internal saying called ship the cupcake instead of the whole cake in terms of features. And so that was our cupcake version of it, was just get it there so people can request more services and pay, and you guys up your average ticket price. Now the next step is like make it one click, make it like seamless.
Yeah. So it's been great. I love it. And I've even had my inspectors tell me, say, man, these have been some big tickets lately. I said, yeah, because how we bonus our guys is that I've got a couple of different ones that are on different pay scales, but what I do is I'll bonus them on some of the upsells. So if they can even do it in the field. We don't want to be pushy with it, but if they say something about hey, does this report come with the repair estimates, then they can say, hey, no, but for this amount you can have that added to your report, and then they can have it added. So Um, yeah.
You do so much well. I love it. I'm such a fan of your business.
I wish I was that guy. Like, we were talking about scaling earlier,
Mhm.
and this is for everybody too, that has that stress on it is, having a large company is not for everybody.
Right.
I found that having, um, a larger team, I was more stressed out.
Did you get
Because
up to 5, 6, or 7 at one point? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We were up to, I don't know about that. So, but I was like, man, it just seems like, you were having to deal with every single buddy. I mean, it's not cut and dry. It's not, you think in this industry that, hey, all they got to do is go from their house to the inspection, do the report, and then back. But when you add people to that, you've got so many different personalities you have to deal with. And, one guy, I mean, even though you tell him like the worst thing you can possibly do is be sick at the last minute, or say, hey, I can't make it, and there's only an hour before the inspection. Realtors don't care. They don't, they can do it to you, but you can't do it to them. And I think that's one thing, is you just got to make sure you got people that are responsible, that understand that, you've got to show up on time. You got to be there. You can't be late. You got to get reports out on time. And you got to be able to communicate with the client. So.
Awesome. Well, where can people learn more? Where can people see a demo of Hoopla?
Yeah, you
Where
guys
can
can
people
go
find you?
on, the website is Hoopla CRM.com. And you can go online. It's basically a funnel page that you can go on there and schedule a demo. You can place a call. A lot of the features are on there. We're actually getting in the process of revamping the website, so it'll be there for, it'll be changing here shortly, just because of some of the stuff that we're going to be adding to it. We might even get into some of the what do they call it, the SMMA, because we get people that say, hey, can you do social media plan? Can you do it for us?
Right.
And I don't want to get into that. I would rather be a software agency. But we have enough people that say, hey, I don't want to do my social media. Can you guys do that? Hey, I don't want to do my Facebook ads. Can you guys do that?
Pays
Hey,
for
I
it.
don't want to set up the automations. Can you guys do that? At the price point that we're at, we would, we have to get to the point where we might have to start charging for additional,
For sure.
requests, because it's just, it's we're at a, when I priced this, I knew where we needed to be with this industry, to to be able to sell the product. If we go too much higher, it's going to be out of most people's price range. So we've tried to keep it at a decent price, but at the same time, you get people that are, I think you guys see it all the time, somebody saying, oh, their software is expensive, it's $100 or $80 or whatever it is, but they have to understand that, if they want the support costs money. You want innovation, it costs money. It's not,
Yeah.
I've never understood that with people that say Spectora is expensive. That's your final product. That's what you're providing to your client. How $100 per inspector? Like, I think it's even cheaper than that. I think I've gone up to the yearly plan, because I can add an inspector for, what is it now, $600 a year on each one of them, and I don't have to worry. I mean, it's constantly updating,
Yeah.
and so I've never understood why people say it's it's an inspect, it's a software expensive compared to what, it's like,
Right.
in my opinion, there's no software out there that's better. There's some that have tried to clone you guys. I won't name names. There's some that I just can't stand looking at. It's just like the ugliest report out there. I just,
And just like with Hoopla, when it does so much, I think it's like a value proposition problem in our industry of understanding like the ROI on like everything we discussed in the last hour can become a 6-figure business for 20 years. And yeah, they're worried about $100. And so it's not for everybody. I think that's the moral of the story is the more business savvy our industry gets, the more they'll wrap their heads around automation, software, and all the money it brings. So,
well, what do you think that the younger generation is understanding? I mean, it's probably a whole change. I mean, you're starting to see the old school guys, and I kind of consider myself old school. I mean, I'm not, 80 years old, but I would think the new people that are coming into the industry are probably expecting, software as a service where they're paying a subscription, because it's been, ever since Microsoft went from, what is it? Microsoft switched to the subscription model.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy. I mean, I'm fine paying $10 a month, for, all their features and not have to do anything but do an update every once in a while. Same with, I use Zero, but what's the other one?
QuickBooks. QuickBooks online.
QuickBooks.
Yeah.
I mean, ever since they moved it online, and I still see people on there saying, "Oh, I bought the software," but when's the last time you updated it, dude? 10 years ago?
Things change. Updates need to happen.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I'll link to everything in the descriptions here for people to get a hold of you. But this was fun, man. Let's do this again and dig into some other topics like specifics around automation.
Hopefully this time we got good sound quality, not like the last time.
I think it sounded great. I think
it was so funny. It was like, hey, in the background.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. This will be a good one, man.
All right,
brother.
Yeah,
appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Kevin. I appreciate it. Always good catching up with you.